All right, I think I'm live. So it's been a long time since I've done any videos at all, let alone a live stream. So please forgive me if I have technical difficulties, which I'm sure I'm going to have. I'll stumble over my words. And I didn't get a chance to really put together the kind of outline that I wanted to do here because I actually had very limited time this morning. My wife is out with my kid at Sunday school, and I had an hour or two to actually get this stuff together and get it out there. But I've had so many conversations lately with people about what a good alternative to WordPress is going to be. And I just thought that, since everyone's talking about it, since it's a topic that's on everybody's mind, that I should just put something out there. I've done a bunch of research on this. I actually had one of my largest projects was put on hold because of the whole WordPress drama. And we actually went back to the drawing board. We were we were this close to going forward with a pilot. We were actually scheduled to go forward with the pilot that week. And the stakeholders pulled the plug and they said, hold everything. We're not doing anything else. We're going to take a beat and make sure we're doing the right thing before we start training a bunch of users and setting expectations. So we took a beat and we actually came back and decided to move forward with Drupal, of all things. And I haven't touched Drupal in years. So that's been a hell of a learning experience for me. What I'm trying to say here is that this is something that's happening in real life. This is not just something where people are talking about it like, okay, Matt's gone crazy. What are we going to do? This is something that's really affecting people. And I know I'm not the only one. It just really stung to have that project it was scary to have that project almost canceled because of it. Although it's actually turned out to be good for me since they hired me to do the Drupal part and the evaluation part. Anyway, I digress. What I'm getting to say though is that there's a lot of products out there. There are a ton of things to look at and to consider. And there's really no one size fits all solution. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to actually start by saying, I'm going to just start with the end here. And that's to say that for 90% or more of the people who use WordPress right now, there is not a viable alternative. And that's just the truth. WordPress is so dominant and it's got such a big community. Nobody else has really stepped up and been able to create something that frankly competes with WordPress and is open source. There's a lot of fantastic open source platforms out there, don't get me wrong, but none of them have the kind of community, have the kind of third-party ecosystem, have the kind of support, have the kind of power behind it that WordPress has. And frankly, that sucks. And it's a little bit concerning because, we're all part of this technology community. People who like open source software are generally people who want to see healthy competition. We generally want to see alternatives. We generally want to have choice. But somehow we as a community all rallied together behind WordPress and said, it's the best. We're not going to do anything else. Or, they've created other things, but like nobody's really gotten behind it and created true alternatives. So that's just a weird place. WordPress is a good product. It's not going anywhere. The fact of the matter is, it is probably the best, easiest to use platform that's on the market right now, unless you start going into something that is hosted, something like Webflow or Wix Studio. WordPress is just, it's got the community. Everyone knows how to use it. It's user friendly. You've got things like Elementor for the general end users that can put up a website in a couple of hours. For more advanced users, we have things like Bricks, which has come on the scene and been absolutely amazing. And then there's the block editor, which if you're a React developer has just opened up doors that are crazy. You can do tons of stuff if you're a React developer using blocks. We just don't I don't see that on the other platforms in a way that is so approachable, that's so easy to use for such a large community as it is with WordPress. I see people in the WordPress community that talk about the developer experience. They they complain when things are too hard to do. When the interface is tough to navigate. They want to streamline their own workflow, and that's fantastic. But let's look at some of these alternatives, and I'm going to put them up on the screen in a little bit and go through. I've got a list of God knows how many. But when we start looking at these alternatives, unless you're comfortable and familiar with the command line, you're just not going to get anywhere with it. Unless you're familiar with things like Composer, unless you're familiar with JavaScript pretty deeply. You've got to really understand Git. You've got to understand so many other technologies that more non-WordPress developers use all the time. But in the WordPress world, we've been spoiled. We haven't needed to use these things, so we've sort of ignored them. And so that's going to give WordPress users a pretty big learning curve as they start looking at these other platforms. So for that reason, I say that most WordPress users, fall on the design end of the spectrum. At least from my own personal experience, they fall on the designer end of the spectrum. So they want to be able to build something quickly. They might use Figma or something like that. They want to put a design out there and give that to their client. They don't really fall closer to the developer end of the spectrum, where they're really diving in and coding a lot. Maybe some of them are in the middle, and we've got the people who are doing bricks and they understand HTML and CSS, maybe a little bit of JavaScript. That's great. And those are core web technologies that you just have to know these days. But if you want to move out of that WordPress world, we're going to need to really embrace these other broader web technologies. We're going to need to embrace using things like Composer. We're going to need to embrace using Git for version control. Lots of other tools that we just didn't need to worry about in WordPress. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's kind of get on with it. Over here, I created this spreadsheet a while ago, just looking at all the different platforms out there. And I'm going to just take a beat for a minute because one of the things that I want to bring up that brings people so close to the WordPress world. I can't even talk right now. But one of the things that's really nice about WordPress is, again, it's got all these different components, all these different third-party systems with it. But when you start getting up there and managing something like 50, 100 plus websites, we've got some great tools to do it. We've got things like main WP, WP umbrella, manage WP that make it ridiculously easy to maintain and manage tons of WordPress sites all at once. To do that inside any of these other CRMs, I haven't really found a way to do that without writing your own set of scripts. And that's not hard to do. But again, we don't have a packaged something that just plugs in and handles all that for us. I personally use main WP. I've been using it for ages. I love it. And I love the fact that I can go on there and at a glance, I've got a dashboard and I can see, all my sites. I can see the status. I can see tons of information about it. I can manage it. I can even post to them if I want to. I can, blanket, make updates and changes to them. That's the sort of thing that I just don't see in even other very powerful CRMs like Drupal. With that, you're really getting back to having to do everything in the command line, which again is fine. It's just not as pretty, not as approachable, not as user-friendly. Anyway, that was just one of those things that occurred to me at like 3 a.m. that I needed to throw out there. Anyway, so like I said, on the biggest project that I'm working on, I really settled on Drupal. That one has, next to WordPress, probably has the largest user base. Coffee, gotta have coffee. Next to Drupal, we're looking at Joomla. And I never really got into Joomla. I've heard good things about it. I've heard that people really like it. And I wish I could find a way to make this thing bigger easily. Nope, not gonna happen. All right. Joomla, heard great things about it, never really played with it. When I looked at it, it looked interesting. But compared to Drupal, at least for my needs, when I was looking at things, I found that Drupal was a better fit. And so I went that direction. Then you start getting into some of the more esoteric things like Craft, Statamic, Kirby, October. Those are all fantastic CRMs. We'll take a quick look at each of those. And I'll definitely don't have time to go through this entire list and look at them all individually. I just wanted to throw this list out there for right now. And there's a few of them that I will probably create follow-up videos for, or follow-up streams, and just look at them in a little bit more detail. But I put all these here on the screen just so that you could see that there really are a ton of options, and pretty good ones too. They fall into a few different categories though. So we have, I don't even know what I would call this, maybe monolithic CRMs, not CRMs, CMS, hello, CMS, there we go. So monolithic CMSs, and that's going to be something like WordPress, where it has everything all in one package. It's got the database, it has the technology for the front end, all that bundled into one. Drupal is another one where it's sort of monolithic. Joomla, again, very monolithic. Then we start looking at things like Statamic, where this is headless. So it's got the CMS underneath of it, but when it comes to actually displaying all that data, that's where you need to plug something else in. Same thing with like Strapi or Directus. All those are great CMSs, and they do a great job of managing the data and giving you a place to store it, to organize it, to run the smarts of it. But then to actually display it, you've got to have something else in front of there. So using something like wow, I'm just blanking now. My brain's not talking to my mouth. Hello. Anyway, you need something else to display it. And I clicked on that and it went to the wrong window. Awesome. So something like Decap. Hello, come back. Take a look here. Accessing your content. This is probably a terrible example. Here we go, Tina CMS. This one's a good example because it's going to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. Let's find it here. Yeah, so here we go. So Tina CMS, great CMS. It's got all the backend in there, and then you access it all through GraphQL. And I don't know why, as soon as I get on the camera, my mind just goes completely blank. I really need to work on that, don't I? Hey, let's take a look at a couple other of these real quick, because there's one in particular that I really wanted to show. Where is it? Directus. This is a good, I really was impressed with Directus. I'll come back to it. So when I was going through, a few of them really stood out. And I'll go back. So we had the monolithic ones. We have the headless ones that really just have the back end. And then we have some others that are sort of monolithic, but not nearly as robust as Drupal and WordPress. So things like Kirby. And I'm really digging Kirby, by the way. This is a really interesting product because it's got the back end, it's got the front end, but it's a flat file CMS. So it stores everything as files that you can control with Git, that you can deploy with something like Netlify. And it's, a pretty nice platform. But again, like the way this thing's built is so much different than the way WordPress works. And maybe I will have a chance to actually spin one of these up so that you can see in a minute. Some of the ones that stood out to me are Statamic. This one was really good. And if I can find a way to color this, let's do yellow background. Wow, that hurts my brain. So that one I really liked. Here we go, Decap, yes, formerly Netlify. So this one, again, is file-based. Really interesting product, and I've been looking at it in a little bit more detail. Didn't actually get into starting to use it, but I think I'm going to try a test project or two on this one. So let's just color that one yellow. Cool. Strapi, I freaking love Strapi. I really, really love Strapi. And I have not used this for any production sites. I fully intend to, but I am just digging where this product's going. So I will definitely end up doing another video, probably just on Strapi at some point. So this one's really cool. Let's see if we can find. So it's got content management in there. It's got a really, really nice editor interface. So part of what I'm looking for in here is, does it have a nice editor interface? Is it something that I can give to my clients that want to go in and edit or publish their own content? Because I don't go in and manage all the content for all of my clients. For some of the clients I do, but I'd say, it's about 50-50. 50% of them will go in and manage their own content, whether it's, publishing a post or, updating events or calendars or employees, something of that nature. So I need to have something where people can go in, one or more editors can go in the back end, make those changes in a very safe and controlled way, and publish that to the front end. That's something that we get with WordPress that I'm definitely looking for in an alternative. If I was just looking for something where, I could come in and make my own changes, or, one of my developers could come in and make their own changes, that would definitely open up a whole other set of possibilities. But because I need to have technical users and business users able to do that, it's sort of narrowing the field a little bit. Strapi is one of the ones that had a really nice backend interface that, when I showed it to a couple people, they looked at it and they're like, yeah, we can do this. And we set up a quick demo site, and it was easy for them to come in and make changes, and it worked really well. Looking at it though, the pricing is a little iffy. So, let's take a look at the self-hosted. It's got the free community-based one. That's nice. And then, interesting. Okay, they now have a. Last time I looked at this was a month or two ago, and I don't think they had this $15 per seat per month option for a self-hosted. Interesting. I thought for sure that before it was either the community or enterprise for self-hosted. They didn't have this growth plan in there. So that changes the equation a little bit. So before it was either free, ridiculously expensive for enterprise, or you had to pay this $99 per project per month for their pro plan. But it looks like they've added in this developer plan on the hosted side that has one seat, which doesn't really do much for me. But for self-hosted, $15 per month per seat. And I'm kind of liking that. So it has releases, it has content history, which is another one of the things that was missing from community that I liked. All right, so I could see this. I could definitely see this. This is not as problematic as it was the last time I looked at it a while ago. So I'm definitely diving back into Strapi. Decap is, again, another one that I'm really going to dig into. And Decap for the back end and something like Astro for the front end. That's the thing that I was blanking on a few minutes ago was Astro. Hello. But something like Astro for the front, and I don't know why I was blanking, because I've been just deep diving into this for a few months. My brain, coffee, not making the connection. So Astro, freaking awesome. The things that I've been able to do with Astro to build static sites has been just really, really cool. And when I look at it, it's got the support. It's got the cred. You know, Guardian uses it. IKEA freaking uses Astro. This is the one that I was really interested in. When I saw that IKEA was using Astro, I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is legitimate. But it is such a nice technology. It's just a dream to work with and to develop on. You know, it's basically HTML and CSS with, you know, a little JavaScript sprinkled in there, and you make really nice websites very easily and easy to manage, and components, and just fantastic. And the nice thing about this is that I can use it as, you know, front end for things like Decap CMS, other products like Directus, which is really just a back end. Directus is also it's super cool CMS, but Directus, you know, has a really nice back end, but doesn't have any way to display the data. So you tie that in with something like Strapi, and there you've got a full-fledged platform. And my screen just did something funny. There we go. All right, not sure what happened. Something blipped. But yeah, Directus, very, very cool. So again, another one that I'm really going to be looking at. Let's see if I can do some screenshots. I think my browser shit itself when it saw the video. Here, we can just do the sandbox demo. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't want to start my own project. All right, so this is a demo of the back end of Directus. And really what this is it gives you a way to model your content and organize that content and the data. And then it gives you the interfaces to be able to access it through some other sort of front end. And this is just crazy powerful. It's got some really nice form stuff in there. You know, it's got some navigation components in there. It's got your content modules in there. The challenge with Directus, though, is that when you get it, you're given a blank page and you're said, hey, go nuts. Unless you, Directus.pizza, hello. Unless you go with something like, where are we at here? I'm pretty sure this is the one that has like recipes or something built in where you can, if you buy one of their plans, you can choose from sort of starter sites. I think this might be it. I could be totally making that up. Yeah, probably making that up. Probably thinking of a different one. Yeah, but what I found with Directus is that it was very complicated to set up, ridiculously powerful. It definitely had some quirks, like all of them do. But it's one to definitely look at. Kirby. Yeah, I want to get back to Kirby for a second because Kirby seems like it may be the solution for a lot of my sites that are informational only, that don't require a lot of changes and updates. This, again, you know, I talked about Astro being a pleasure to develop with. Kirby is just freaking fun to use. Not to mention I love the name Kirby because it just, you know, reminds me of Nintendo. And, you know, I've got a 7-year-old son who loves playing games. And I think Kirby's the first game that me and him actually played together. And we still have fun with it. But anyway, it's a really nice CMS, very easy to work in, very easy for content editors to come in. And it's crazy easy to come in and create your own templates and get this thing up and running. So I'm not going to go into too much detail now. I would say take a quick look at it. Let's just see if there's a quick way to try this. Yeah, I'm not going to download that. Yeah, they don't seem to have a hosted try. Do they have a hosted one? Got the starter kit. Oh, Instant Online Demo. Yeah, they do have one. All right, so here's the admin interface for Kirby. Ridiculously easy to use. I can set up my users in here. Got my system options in there, my website, And here we go. I've got my blog with my different blog posts, and I've got my drafts and my in-reviews. I go into my posts. I've got my editor, very easy to use editor, sort of tiny MCE-ish, like the classic editor in WordPress, with a little bit of code block on top of it. I don't know what the name of this editor is that they use, but it's really easy to use, very friendly. I can come in here and add more blocks if I want to, quotes, text, video, et cetera, and then all this stuff comes together and gets published on the site. Creating these templates is very easy to do. Creating the pages is very easy to do. And I think that, pricing wise, it's got good pricing. Let's take a look at it. I think, yeah, so $105 per site, and this has a 3-year subscription. So for basically 30 some odd dollars per year per site, you've got a really nice CMS. So the price is right. It is a commercial product, and I'm okay paying for something. These companies need money to survive, and that's okay. I don't want to be paying out the nose. $99 a month, probably a non-starter for some of my smaller clients. My bigger clients aren't even going to blink twice at that. But for a small business or medium-sized business, $100 a month is a lot of money, especially on top of what I charge to maintain and support and run the site. So if I can get away with $15 or $30 a month, yeah, definitely would look at that. Kirby, there we go. What's the other one that I really like that's similar to Kirby? Strapi, I want to talk about that later. Okay, October and Winter CMS. I'm going to talk about these together because October CMS came first. I've got a license for this. I haven't really had a chance to dive into it much. I played around with it a little bit. It looks very promising, looks very easy to use, and tons of good features. The price is right. Although this used to be a free open source product. And I guess at some point they decided that they were going to start charging for it and make it a commercial platform. Again, I'm okay with that. When you look at the pricing, it's fine. $29 per year for a license, or $26 a month for unlimited licenses. You can't beat that license price right there. But some people were like, hey, it kind of gets away from the spirit of open source that this thing was built on. So they forked it and they created Winter CMS. I have not looked at this at all. I do intend to look at it at some point though. But from my understanding, it's basically a forked October that is free open source. Interface looks decent, looks pretty similar. I'm sure things are going to be different between the two of them. But again, I think these two are worth exploring in a little bit more detail. All right, so that's those two. Craft is wild. When I think of the things that are most promising, I'm really thinking of Craft and Statamic as being sort of the closest to WordPress without going crazy pants like Drupal. Here, let me get rid of some of these tabs. And yes, I do know I'm all over the place. It's because of lack of coffee. I'm telling you, that's what it is. All right, so both these platforms, fantastic platforms. They have tons of features, very easy to use on the back end. They have self-hosted or SaaS versions. The price is decent, tons of good commercial support. They've got good community behind them. They're mature products. These are the ones that I would really look at for being kind of the closest to WordPress in terms of a general use CMS. They're not necessarily the ones that I think I'm going to land on because I'm personally looking for something that's either going to be heavy duty like a Drupal or lightweight for my informational sites. I'm not looking for that somewhere in the middle sort of platform. I don't do e-commerce. I don't do a lot of kind of application websites, with membership portals and things like that. Things like Craft and Statamic, I think, are going to be more suited to that. So for me, I'm either like whole hog, need the complexity of an enterprise system, or very simple informational site. For that in between, Statamic and Craft seem to be the best. Again, this is my initial look. The CMS, very, very powerful in each of them. The editing interface, very, very powerful. The templating is very well done, easy-ish to manage. And the platforms are not easy to manage, but they're not overwhelming to manage. When we look at the pricing for Craft, so self-hosted, free, we love that. The issue with that is that you only get the one user account. You can't have 5 user accounts or more like you do with some of these other ones. So for team, you've got this $279 per project, which again isn't too terrible, because you're looking at $279 one time, and then after that, $99 per year for updates. So if you look at the total cost over 3 years, it's not awful. And as a matter of fact, let's just do that. So 279 plus, so that's for the first year, plus 200, so 479 divided by 36. So really, when you look at it over the course of 3 years, if I didn't screw up my math, we're looking at what, $13 per month? Yeah, all right. That's definitely manageable. So pricing wise, I'm not concerned about that. Even, Pro self-hosted for $399. And actually, when I looked at it, I think Pro would probably be closer to what I would go with. $399 one time plus $99 per year, not a big deal. On Craft Cloud, their hosted platform, you don't pay that fee, you just pay a monthly fee. Let's see if I can find what the pricing is for it. Here we go. Let's just look at the monthly pricing. So this starts to get pretty pricey for their hosted, but they take care of all the infrastructure. I see, Chris, you just mentioned for me, WordPress is only CMS engine for Pinegrow. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I mean, I use Pinegrow to develop all the front end too, and WordPress is the back end. As a matter of fact, I've been doing a lot of just flat file websites using Pinegrow, things that don't require a lot of updates. Things where I'm just managing the content. I've just been building them out, for informational sites in Pinegrow and letting it rip, because it's just so easy. And then, even outside of WordPress and outside of that, I'm just using Pinegrow to, develop interfaces. So just to manage the HTML and CSS that I pick up and plug into other things. So yeah, I mean, even though I'm not doing videos about Pinegrow all the time, I use it for pretty much every project, and I still love it. And I hope that the team is working on the next big thing, because I'm sure all this stuff going on with WordPress has kind of got them bummed too. But they're very generally upbeat people, and always looking to the next best thing. So we'll see. Anyway, Craft, kind of digging it. We'll probably have to do a whole video just on Craft just to show it off. Statamic, if you're into Laravel, this is the way to go. Again, fantastic interface, really easy to manage, very easy to develop for if you're familiar with the stuff already, if you're familiar with Composer, if you're familiar with different templating engines. The interface for, where am I at? I gotta stop trying to click and talk at the same time. The interface for editors, very easy to use, very friendly. It's got a lot of power for me for data modeling and for putting the site together and managing the content. And I think overall it's just got it's a good package. It's a really good package. It's got a lot of good support, screencasts, documentation is well done. Pricing, let's take a look at the pricing here. So core free pricing, that's pretty good. That gives you, one admin account, fine. Similar to Craft though, if you really want to have this in production for users, you want to go with the Pro model. So for that, it's $275 per site, and then $65 per year for updates. Not bad at all. Again, we're looking at what, $15 a month per site. If you're making money with this, that's what you want. So it's not bad at all, pricing wise. All right. What are some of these others? Payload, I looked at this for a bit, and it also looks good. I've heard a lot of people really raving about this one. I haven't had a chance to dive into it too much. Again, I think this one is file-based. Let me just make sure. So Headless CMS. Okay, this is not what I was thinking of. I need to dig into this one a bit more. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one had some pricing issues. $35 a month for regular pricing is not bad. Self-hosted is free. Okay. I think I just need to dive into this because I've heard good things about it. I just haven't had a chance to really play with it enough. Excuse me. Processwire. Maybe this is the other one that I was thinking of that people seem to like. Yeah. Processwire. Again, heard great things about it. Briefly looked at it. Stood up a quick demo site. Liked what I saw enough to keep it on my list, but never really got too much farther than that. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes how you can really easily stand some of these things up using a tool to DDEV, Docker-based development environment. Most of these things integrate with DDEV or have recipes with DDEV that you can just stand it up in a matter of minutes. Processwire, let's just see if we have, what will I love? Tell me what I'm going to love about Processwire. Here, show me a demo site. Front end. Cool, that's the website. Show me the admin site. Admin. All right. So not quite as friendly as some of the others for editors to come in, although this is actually bringing back some memories. It does seem a lot like Windows Explorer or something like that. So let's just drill down into the city, Baltimore, and I want to edit North Charles Street building. So, this has got a lot of data for that building. And actually managing something like this would be fairly simple and intuitive for end users, I'm thinking. Oh, look, my screen just shat itself again. What is happening here? Right, let's view this on the front end. Yeah, looking at it on the front end, puts all that data together in a nice, easy to use way. All right, I'm digging this. I'm digging it. I'm gonna have to dive in a little bit more. At some point I stopped coloring these things and I need to get back to it. Django, this one is fairly complicated. I think this one you need to, if you're a Python developer, go nuts. I use Python for some things. I actually have never used it for any web stuff. I would love to actually play with this. I don't think I would ever use it for real, but I think I would love to play with it. It is fairly robust from my understanding. And it's got a decent community behind it. Wagtail. Someone turned me on to Wagtail, and I'll find a way to publish this list just so that it's out there for people to take a look. I'll make a Google sheet or something. That way you don't have to go through. I think I looked at the website for this, never actually stood up a site, said, hey, that's kind of cool, and then never bothered to look at it again. Let's see if there's a get started here. Oh, look, I can start in 15 minutes. All right, we'll come back to that. Umbraco, yeah, this is the one that is .NET. And also expensive if I remember correctly. So I kind of looked at those two things and said, .NET, I haven't done that since I left corporate. Not going back there. And yeah, there was no pricing on the website, which leads me to believe that I can't afford it. So there you go. Contentful. This one's interesting. So it's either free or expensive. And I hate when sites do this, where you get the free version that's very limited, or you pay out the nose for it. From what I understand, marketers love this. It's very much for people who are just publishing tons and tons of content, but not really for me as an agency who's delivering websites for clients. ExpressionEngine. This one, God, I played with this 10 years ago, longer. And I thought for sure that this thing had died at some point, but when I started looking at CMSs again, it seemed to be resurrected and seems to actually be thriving, although I don't hear people talk about it very much. So I put this on the list so that I wouldn't forget about it. But I remember way back in the day looking at it and going, damn, this is powerful. And wow, it's complicated. So I would be really interested to revisit it at some point, especially since the pricing, again, not bad. One time plus $50 a year. Yeah, that's not bad at all. It had a ton of features. I remember it being relatively easy to work with, and being pretty powerful. Oh yeah, these ExpressionEngine tags. This is sort of bringing it back. I always thought that this was a little bit weird that they had a very odd syntax that didn't seem to be the same as anything else. Or it didn't seem to be similar to anything else. Anyway, Concrete. Again, this is one that I hadn't thought of for ages. Back in the early 2000s, I used Concrete 5. Actually, right around the time that I was, right around the early versions of WordPress, I was using Concrete 5. And I thought it was the bee's knees, man, because this thing had a visual editor. I could build a website really quickly. This, back in the day, 20 years ago, was like all the things that WordPress of today was promising. Only it sucked in a lot of ways. But now I'm looking at it and I heard that it's actually pretty decent. I have not actually revisited it, installed it, or anything like that. Again, I put it on the list because it's something that I wanted to take a look at. I wonder if they have a online demo. Nope, they don't have that. Let's see if you can, I don't even know what the pricing is for this. Okay, open source. Yep, so it is still open source. So how do we download that? Get started. All right, so this is if I have them do the hosting, $4.95 a month or $19 per month. Here we go, download the source. Yeah, I mean, this thing's definitely being maintained. January 7th, install it with Composer. So yeah, maybe I'll check that out because that seems to be pretty quick. Yeah, so I remember this actually had a third-party ecosystem of add-ons. And some of them were really cool. We had gallery add-ons, we had slider widgets, all sorts of stuff that were very cool. They were all really janky, but 20 years ago everything was pretty janky. Damn, why did I sleep on this one? I don't know. All right, so that's that. Concrete. Ghost. If you're into blogging, Ghost is a fantastic alternative. Actually, I just looked over here and I see some comments. Let me take a look at these comments and then I'll talk about Ghost. All right. Is Drupal worth getting into? Yes, Drupal is definitely worth getting into if you need the power of Drupal. If you're just doing informational sites, Drupal is kind of like trying to hang a picture using a sledgehammer, so I would not go that route. Caveat is that the Drupal Starshot, which they're going to be calling it Drupal CMS, aims to change that. So Drupal has traditionally been very hard and complicated to install, to maintain, to manage. They know this, and they don't like this. So they've got this Starshot initiative that they announced 6 months ago, maybe, where they're trying to make it much more user-friendly. And it looks very ambitious, and it looks, I like the direction they're going. I really like the direction they're going. If it all starts to come together the way that they are hoping, which I don't doubt that eventually it will, I definitely think that it would be worth potentially exploring for even the small clients. I just haven't seen it, so I don't know. As Drupal stands right now, I don't think it's right for the small clients. It is very complicated to install, to manage, to maintain. Doing updates on it is much more complicated than WordPress. You don't just click a button and go. It just takes more effort. Emmanuel, hello Emmanuel. And yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome for the comprehensive overview. Still love Pinegrow, by the way. Still love you guys. Still love bitching about old men problems with you guys on Slack from time to time. And complaining about WordPress. All right, so Ghost. If you're into publishing, if you're mainly into blogging, Ghost is a great platform. It's not something that's in my world, so I looked at it. Haven't really done a whole lot more than that. I think I might have stood up a demo account at some point. I just didn't find that it was going to be a great fit for me. Maybe I'll take a look at it in more detail at some point. Pricing wise, $9 a month for starter for one person, $25 a month for more than that. I think this is all. I think there's a self-hosted, but they really push you towards using their SaaS platform. I don't remember the details. All right, Prismic. This one, another headless CMS. Thought it was interesting. I'm not really into Next.js, so I haven't bothered to look at it. I've always been interested in SvelteKit. Haven't dived into it. Don't know that I'm going to, because it just doesn't seem to be the way that the world is headed right now. But if I was in that world, I'd probably be taking a closer look at Prismic. Typo 3, again, this is one of the ones that I looked at, 20 years ago. My understanding is very big in Europe, Germany especially, very big in academia. Never really took off here in the States. If I remember correctly, it was a bitch to wrangle, that it had a lot of quirks. Like, you really had to get in there and understand the intricacies of what's going on with it to be able to make it do what you want to do. But once you got it, and it worked really well. So I sort of see this as being, a wannabe Drupal. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong there. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, other than the fact that I don't think it has the community that I'm looking for. People seem to be rallying behind Drupal. People seem to be rallying behind, Craft and Statamic and Strapi, Kirby. I'm not seeing any rallying behind Typo 3. I'm seeing this as being more of a legacy thing. So I don't know. All Tina CMS. We're going to hit on this real quick. Tina CMS is just itty bitty teeny tiny. I think it's a really cool interface to Astro. So if you want to build an Astro site, but you want an editor to be able to come in and make changes to the content, I think Tina is probably the easiest CMS to use. Let's see if there's a demo that I can pop up here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so here you go. You've got your page. You've got your little doohickeys here. You click on stuff. You edit it. I mean, look how freaking simple it is. I've got my collections of blog posts. Here we go. Vote for Pedro. I've got my globals. My header, my footer, my theme. Take a look at that. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very cool. Who turned me on to this? Kevin Powell, I think, might have turned me on to this. I think in his Beyond CSS course, he has a chapter on Tina CMS. Maybe I'm totally making that up. I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool. And I need to play with it more because, I don't know, it's cute. And it's free and it's super lightweight. And I like all those things. All right, Storyblok. This one, oh man, I want to love this one so much. So Storyblok looks very powerful. I believe that it is SaaS only. I could be wrong. Let's just do a quick look here. I don't think they have self-hosted on this. All right, I'm not going to dive into that now because we're sort of running short on time. Yep, I don't want to sign up for all this stuff. The thing that really turned me off was when I looked at the pricing. So you've got the free edition, which is sort of robust. 10 user seats, management API, visual editor, data sources, yada, yada, yada. You jump from free to $100 per month. So that hurts. Free, and then you've got $9 a month for each user there. Then you go to $99 a month, which includes 5 users, up to 30 user seats. So I don't know, that's just a big leap. And I think there's probably better alternatives. I also don't love SaaS only products. I want something that's going to be self-hosted. Basically, I looked at this and I go, okay, well, if I want something that's going to be SaaS, I'm probably going to look at something that is a little bit more well adopted, like Webflow. Webflow's a very common name. Marketers love it. Although, this being a headless CMS, there's something about it, but why? I don't know. Someone please convince me to take a closer look at Storyblok. I'm just not there yet. And then Grav CMS, why did I take a look at this? I think I put this on the list and then forgot to look at it later on. Again, it looks interesting. Flat file CMS, store stuffing Git, great. It seemed nice. It seemed easy to use. I'm just not hearing much about it. And maybe that just bothers me when I don't hear a whole lot of chatter about any of these things. Because I do want something that's going to have a good community around it, that's going to be where I can actually find developers to work on it. But I want to make sure that it's something that's going to last for a few years, that I'm not just jumping from platform to platform to platform. So, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And maybe I'm just not in the right communities. I don't know. It seems to check the boxes. For some reason, it just didn't suck me in the way that I wanted to. So anyway, that's kind of a rundown of these. I'll put this spreadsheet up someplace. Let me show you real quick, though, one last thing after I close a bunch of tabs. Watch, I'm probably going to close the tab that I want to. Wagtail, Django, DDEV. Yep, that's the one that I want. All right. So here we go. Terminus terminal. DDEV. This makes it very easy to stand up and test some of these platforms. As long as you're familiar with the command line, you can do this pretty easily. So get started on your Windows. I'm going to go into WSL. Look, everyone knows my username. Cool. All right. No, I don't have that. Do I have a DDEV? I don't. I don't have a DDEV on this one. I guess that must be on my Mac that I've been using DDEV. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Anyway, not going to go through it right now. Maybe I'll just do a quick follow-up video just showing DDEV and how easy this is to use. Don't need to do that. Don't need to do that. Do I even have it installed? That's the question. Now I'm curious. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Triple DDEV, look at that. Okay, so I do have it installed. All right, then let's just create a project. As a matter of fact, let's go over here to Docs because this is where I want CMS Quick Starts. So over here, we've got quick starts for a bunch of different CMSs. So let's say, for example, I want to spin up a quick Statamic site. Here we go. Check it. All right, so I do have something here. So basically, you just take one of these quick starts, you copy and paste it into DDEV, and you can have this thing up and running like stupid quick. Or at the very least, you can get like a web platform up and running. You can get Laravel up and running quickly to install something on. You can get a PHP site up and running locally on your computer. But here we go. Yeah. So now I've got Statamic running locally, just with basically this command line just got it up and running for me. And now it's sort of running on my local machine. So I actually found DDEV very quick and easy to go through and set up demo sites for different things, just to go in and toy around with it, play around with it without too much effort, without having to mess around with my hosting, any of that stuff. Just did it right on my local machine. I'm positive that I did more on my Mac than I have on my PC for this, probably because I've done most of it while I'm sitting on the sofa with my wife watching television, not sitting here at my computer trying to do real client work during the day. But yeah, so if you actually want to play with these things, check out DDEV. It's not hard to learn. Makes it really, really quick and easy if you want to test out Drupal, to set up a Drupal site. As a matter of fact, let's do this. I don't think I have a Drupal site on here. Let's find out. If I don't, we'll fire one up. So we're stopping Statamic. All right, so I've got a craft site on here. I don't have a Drupal site. Let's do Drupal then. We'll go with Drupal 11. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the directory for Drupal, and we're going to go into it. And then we're going to do this config. So here we are configuring DDEV with a Drupal project and using the Docker to web. I need to do app type. My app type seems to be wrong. How do I update DDEV? Let's do this real quick. So again, this is like, if you're familiar with Linux, if you're familiar with command line, with any of this stuff, it's not complicated. If the command line scares you, that's going to be a pretty big hurdle to overcome. Come on, finish up here. There we go. All right, now let's do this. All right, now we're updated. I've got my Drupal 11 project going on here. All right, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do Composer Create. All right, so this is going to install a project. So the first command set up the environment for me, the DDEV environment. This one is installing Drupal, I believe. Or no, it's... Right, we're going to do these once it's done downloading all these. Download and extract. Set it all up for me. Let's run the drush install next. So this is just downloading all the things that I need for Drupal. Again, like this stuff is pretty easy. I'm just watching progress bars. All right, let's get those containers going. Come on, you can do it. I swear, I think I spent half my career watching progress bars. Back in the 90s and 2000s, it was awesome. I could get paid for sitting around with my thumb up my ass watching progress bars, and they paid me good money to do that. Building the project. All right, we're getting there. We're close. We're close. Let's get all this stuff in place, and then we'll do the install. Half of this is just sitting around waiting for Docker. There we go. All right, now we'll do the install. And then once we're done that, we will launch it and log in. Cool. Boom. All right. Drupal 11 install. That took way more time than I had hoped. Sorry to make you watch progress bars. But yeah, I mean, here we go. We've got a Drupal installation. So if you've never seen Drupal before, use DDEV. You can get this thing up and running pretty quickly. It's a totally different interface than what you're used to. The language is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. But once you go through, and especially if you've done some tutorials on Drupal, it's not too overwhelming. And it's, dare I say, friendly at some point? I don't know. It's not bad. It's got a really bad reputation. But you know, I think once you wrap your head around it, it's not too overwhelming. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to put that spreadsheet up. I'll figure out where I'm putting it. I'll put a link here in the video for it. I will note the ones that I think are the most promising. And I'm going to follow up and do a couple of follow-up videos on a few of these platforms because I think they are worth looking in a little bit more detail. You know, like I said, I've just been heads down in Drupal for months now. And I've been kind of playing with Astro and learning Astro and then trying to decide where I'm going to go. I personally think Kirby is where I'm going to land, or I'm going to land on something like Tina and Astro. I'm not sure. I got to figure that out. Just like everyone else, I just need to figure it out because I'm not loving what's happening with WordPress. I haven't been loving what's happening with WordPress for a long time. WordPress has just been, they've been effing around with the block editor too much. I haven't loved the politics that's going on there in the WordPress world. I don't like the direction that it's going in, and something's got to give. So this is sort of my first attempt at looking at the landscape, trying to wrangle my requirements in some way and figure out what the best fit's going to be. And maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to wrangle my requirements a little bit more and really lay them out in a way that I can evaluate these CMSs a little bit more methodically than just saying, okay, well, this looks promising for that reason. I don't know, there's such a big landscape here. There's so many variables. I don't freaking know. And everything's going to be a trade-off. So anyway, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you guys. I can't believe that more than 2 of you have actually stayed with me for this long. So thank you very much. I will follow up not too long. Hopefully it won't be another 6 months or so before I create another video. One of my goals for 2025 is to start doing more videos now that I have moved, now that most of my health issues are gotten better. Having surgery next month, but that's just going to keep me from walking. But yeah, things are looking up. I'm hoping to be able to focus on creating more content soon and really getting back into it. So thank you guys so much. I will see you all next time. Take care.